Hey guys, and welcome to the Good Old Days podcast. I am your host, Matthew Byers, and today we're going to be interviewing my father-in-law, Matthew Byers. Matt Byers. You said I could call you Matt.
Absolutely.
And we're going to learn about his life. And what is your drink of choice?
My drink of choice is Pepsi.
But you don't have Pepsi right now.
I don't.
You have iced tea.
I don't. I have iced tea, just enough caffeine probably. There is caffeine in this.
I think so. It's a green iced tea.
Good.
It's a passion fruit green iced tea.
So this means it's healthy.
Sure. If you want to think
Can
that.
I write it down on my list of healthy things
Sure.
I eat today? Good.
You can write it on the list.
Okay.
And you like Pepsi with
Lots
a lot
of
ice.
ice.
Yeah.
Lots
Small
of
ice.
Small ice, that Chick-fil-A ice or
Or coffee bean. Coffee bean has that ice.
Oh, do they?
It's like the small little rock.
Yeah.
Rock. Why did I say rock?
Yeah. Little pebbles.
Pebbles. Okay. See, I was on the right track. Yeah, that ice is really good.
Yeah.
And you got a machine, an ice machine.
I did.
We pitched in for one for your birthday.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
It was a group effort.
It's a great machine, and I use it often, especially when grandkids come over.
Now you don't have to go to Chick-fil-A and buy it, but it's only like $1.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
still do that?
Before what I was doing, I'd go and I'd buy a big bag of that Chick-fil-A ice and then milk it for all it's worth. Yeah.
Now you don't have to.
I don't
That's
have to.
great.
I've got
Great gift.
A nice machine.
Nice.
So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to get into your life. And I don't know a whole lot about your early life, your childhood.
I mean, all the things that I did in my youth that brought worldwide fame.
Yeah. You're very famous.
Yeah.
You're very famous in Pasadena, I feel like, maybe.
More like Temple City.
Temple City. Okay.
Small town.
People know you.
Small town.
It's people know the Byers there.
Taught there. Yeah. Yes,
okay.
so
well,
tell
tell me first, where did you grow up? Well, first of all, I'm going to ask, when were you born?
So October 5, 1958.
Okay.
Number 3 of 4 kids.
Okay.
Older brother, and then older sister, myself, and then my younger sister. Born, just outside of Temple City at San Gabriel Hospital. Mm-hmm. And then all my growing up years, we were in a couple of houses in Temple City.
I like to think about when someone tells me the year they were born, I like to think about when they were a teenager. So you were a teenager in the 70s?
70s.
That's just so cool.
Yeah, Barry Manilow, Neil Diamond, the Carpenters.
The 80s too. You like the Carpenters too.
Yeah, the 80s, we got married in 81, and Chelsea, our firstborn, was 82. And the 80s and 90s then became a blur. And really, it's only been since I've retired and started making more playlists. It's like, I guess I do know a few songs from the 80s and 90s.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But
that's like where all the good music is, though.
I guess
it really
is. I
is.
guess I missed a lot of it.
That's
and then
most.
Lionel Richie. Oh, Neil Diamond's still there. Barry Manilow's still there, and still today.
So go back to when you were a kid. So you grew up in Temple City.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Rode bikes everywhere. Mm-hmm. Just like you said,
it's a different time.
You played until the lights came out, and
dinner was ready.
One parent would yell, "David, come home!" And that was a cue for Matt and Wayne and Steve and everybody. Oh, we got to go, And so we dropped the baseball bats and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh! And you played in your neighborhood in the park.
Played in the neighborhood, over at the elementary school that I went to. We'd play over the line for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, and those were the days.
Of course, over the line. Everybody.
No.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're saying. I just pretended.
Yeah. No, it's just, it's baseball with, 5 people or 6 people.
Oh, okay.
Yes, one person hits, one person plays shortstop, one person plays outfield, and
was this in the park, or I'm imagining a cul-de-sac? Is that correct?
We did a lot of stuff in I grew up on not quite a cul-de-sac, but it was a driveway that had 3 houses on it.
Oh, okay.
So kind of a mini cul-de-sac. And we would do a lot of stuff in that driveway, but, to hit a ball or something like that, it was always a block and a half down to the elementary school where there was a baseball diamond, and we'd climb the fence and we'd start at 7 a.m. type thing.
Crazy.
I think our parents wanted
woke
us
up
to
that
get
early?
out. Oh yeah. I'd get
On
up.
Saturdays?
Oh,
Was that
yeah.
like your weekend thing? Wake up at 7?
No, it was I'd get up early. School was not until 8 or 8:30, so 6:30 I could get up, go in the backyard, start throwing a ball against a brick wall, a little chalk around, make a circle, try and pitch and hit that,
Wow.
Then I figured out how to skip the ball so it would bounce and hit the wall and go over my head, and I'd go diving catches. And
you were training.
You
were training to be an athlete.
I was going to be a Major League Baseball player. That was my.
It sounds like you were on the way.
That was my dream.
I would not have woken up that early to engage in any sport.
Oh yeah, no, I was up early, and then I didn't need much sleep. I'd go to sleep around midnight and get up at 6 o'clock and.
Yeah, I feel like I used to wake up at like 6 a.m. wide awake when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm sure my parents hated that. But now I can't wake up at that hour for the life of me. So, yeah.
My parents were fine as long as I got up and I went outside. Because the backyard was the furthest from their bedrooms and stuff, so they wouldn't hear me. Now, the times that I missed the wall and threw the ball over the wall and hit the neighbor's window, that only happened 2 or 3 times. That woke everybody up.
Yep,
So,
and then you're done. You're done.
yeah,
for
I was
the day.
done. I mean, that's when I said, that curveball is not quite ready. So,
I'm not there yet.
I'm not there
Gotta
yet.
work on it. Do you have any cool stories of when you would go to the baseball fields?
I have, we used to do an awful lot, I don't know about when you were growing up, but especially during the summertime, there was always summer recreation programs.
Yeah.
And there was one, again, down the street at that same school. And they used to have activities and things like that. Every day there was some big activity. And at the end of the summer, they'd have a kind of invite the parents to come and see, this is the crafts they worked on. These are the skills they worked on. And there was a baseball skills thing. And I was like 6 years old or 7 years old. And I was demonstrating how to slide into second base type thing. And so I just thought it was the greatest thing. And the local newspaper happened to catch it. And I got my picture in the paper, which to me was like, okay, that's fine. But my parents, especially my dad, who was from West Virginia, and anything that was in the newspaper, that was noteworthy, right? Okay. And so all of a sudden, I was noteworthy guy. Like the next day, he bought me a brand new glove. And
wow. He's like, he's going to make it.
He's going to make it.
He's starting off in the papers.
That's it. My mom would buy me a book and it's like, my dad used to say, the purpose of books is for us to spank you with them.
Oh my gosh.
That was his. It
was definitely a different time back then.
Yeah. Well, he was raised in West Virginia. Now things are a little tougher there. So
yeah. What was your relationship like with your parents growing up? I would say throughout school.
Yeah. So with my mom, we were very close. When I was little, I remember even before going to school, I would sit and watch movies. She loved to watch movies.
So I was like
Cary Grant, the Clark
relationship
Gable.
was kind of, that's where you bonded.
Yeah, we bonded there, and we'd talk about him, and I kind of got my growing up. It really affected me. Growing up, I wanted to be classy, like Clark Gable or Tyrone Power or
don't know who those people are.
Errol Flynn. Oh yeah, you gotta.
I gotta look up faces.
Yeah, you gotta look them up. Jimmy Stewart, all these classic actors, and I wanted to be classy like that, and I carried that through high school and even into into college. College was more overalls and curly hair and aviator glasses. So that
we got to talk about the fashion of your childhood too, but keep going.
Yeah. So with my mom, it was that kind of thing. She was really supportive. She was very involved in all of our school activities and stuff like that. My dad was worked at an engine company. Like I said, he grew up in West Virginia and escaped West Virginia by joining the Marines, and that's what brought him out West Coast and where he met my mom. And he was really into sports, and he was a very kind, nice man, but he could be with the family and all of my friends. They just loved my dad. Mm-hmm. When he came home, though, he was really tough. Mm-hmm. And if you stepped out of line, you got the belt, or you got a twig switch type thing. Mm-hmm. And spare the rod, spoil the child was kind of the motto, that he had. And so in that relationship, it wasn't until like into my 30s that my dad finally, I heard him say to me that he was proud of me. It was always, high expectations and that kind of thing. So from that standpoint, our relationship was a little rocky, especially through high school. I went through the rebellious side, not having a lot of respect for him and that kind of thing. And thankfully that changed, a couple of years before he died, where he was very proud of me and my family and stuff. So thank God that resolved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's like, that probably feels very emotional to for that to resolve,
it was
right before.
I was really, my attitude was really hard on him. Mm-hmm. And, one day I realized, just after like a little Bible study thing, that my dad actually was doing the best he could. He was doing all he knew based off how he was raised. And God really showed me, some great things that he did. Like he chose to leave West Virginia and make more out of his life. All of his other siblings, worked the coal mines and kind of stayed. And an older brother broke away to Philadelphia, I think became a lawyer. But my dad had broke away and got in the Marines, which was the tougher form of the military at that point, I think. And he chose to, he married, my mom was a Mexican American, and my dad grew up with, West Virginia was very South thinking, and so there was a lot of prejudices and stuff like that. And my dad, in fact, when my parents were getting married, his parents were trying to fly in to stop the wedding, because how can you marry, a non-white person type thing? And they got snowed in, and they got delayed, and my folks got married. So there was all those attitudes, and my dad, he had his prejudices and stuff, but he nevertheless made choices against type. How he was raised, and I was in my later years was able to realize how courageous actually it was, and it changed my attitude and my heart towards him.
Yeah.
So.
That's really cool.
Yeah. He was, he got a chance to know Chelsea and Jordan a little bit before he died. So but I feel like with our family, I really felt like he was just really proud. And proud of me and what I was accomplishing and stuff like that. So
that's cool.
Okay.
That's a good story. I told you we needed tissues.
Maybe might need one.
Yeah, that's powerful. Okay, well, circling back a bit. Well, you're in your high school years. What revolved your life then? You said baseball mostly, right? Now I know I'm kind of revealing things, but when did you start getting into music? Was it during then?
So I was always, I guess, really good at music. I was really, really shy as a kid. And when I was in elementary school, I was went to a Catholic school. I was in the choir, and I loved singing. And one time the choir director stopped and said, okay, somebody is really singing out over here, pointed kind of where I was. And I was on the ground, hiding under the bench, you know.
You knew it was you?
Yeah.
You're like,
because
yeah,
he was
me,
like
but...
pointing, and it was like, and I was so afraid he was going to point me out and maybe have me do a solo or something. Gosh, God forbid. I didn't want to do that. And so, you know, there was always a sense. I was in the singing groups in junior high and high school. And my dad, you know, really liked to sing. But he also was like, singing is for sissies. You're going to be a baseball player. So, and so even right there, I would still join choirs or would sing. And he tolerated it. My mom obviously loved it. My grandparents, my grandfather played guitar and he loved it. And then in high school, played sport at Temple City. Performing arts and sports were the two biggest things. And many athletes were also in choir and stuff because the choir director was
like High School Musical.
Yeah. Well, the choir director was the freshman football coach, and he was also the varsity baseball coach.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so,
what a world.
You know, one of my highlights was singing, you know, the homecoming, singing the national anthem, and half of us had our football pads on.
Oh my gosh,
come running over, and it would
cool.
be so intimidating to the other team because we'd sing the national anthem and then go out there and.
Oh my gosh.
And those days.
Wait, do you
really
think
good.
they were intimidated by that? I feel like they'd be like, these guys are singing, like we're gonna beat them, and then you just went out and
it was
beat them.
more of a, you know, at the time in the 70s in Temple City, it was very much like that Friday Night Lights show.
Yeah.
And where the entire city came out for Friday night, and our teams won CIF almost every year.
Oh, that's
I mean,
fun.
they set a state record for consecutive wins. So football was really big, but then performing arts was really big too. And so there was a lot of tolerance for that. And in the choir, there was, you know, we had the biggest guys section, and most of them were football and basketball players.
That's rare. That's
stuff.
rare.
Yeah, it was great. And so that kind of that kind of is where music started to become a bigger thing. I was at Little League and Pony League and all that kind of thing. I was an all-star. I pitched, played shortstop, and but then my eyes started going bad. I had my right eye was like 22,000 or 2,500, and so I always everything was off my left eye, you know, and I was accomplishing a lot just with one eye. But as I went into my freshman year, that eye started becoming very nearsighted. I think 2,800 type thing.
Wow.
And getting glasses was a longer process. And so, I mean, the last baseball game I played, I was pitching, and the catcher would flash his finger signals, and then he'd touch his mask, and that was fastball. Because I could see big movements, or he'd flash signals and then adjust his chest protector.
Wow!
And that
So
was
he
the
literally
curve.
changed it for
Yeah,
you to see it.
we had to change it because, you know, and I had to strike people out because if they hit the ball somewhere, I may not see where it went.
Yeah.
And so that probably helped me as a pitcher. It was really intense. But then I got into high school, and the baseball coaches weren't interested in me.
Yeah.
You know, having those, you know, dealing with somebody who's having some vision problems, and so that ended, and singing and being in show choir and stuff became a big thing in musical theater. Yeah.
And then you started doing that more in high school. And
So,
then moving into college, you majored in
majored in music. I wasn't going to.
Ooh,
the
music.
You know, the senior counselor at the high school said, "Okay, we're doing your post high school. What do you want to do?" And I said, "I don't care. I wanted to play baseball." That dream disappeared. And the counselor said, "Well, you've been in the show choir, you've been in musicals, so I think you're going to major in music." I said, "Fine, whatever."
Like, sure, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. And you know, got a career, 36 years
And then you
as
became
a choir director. And all that. So
but what happened in college that was significant? Didn't you meet someone maybe?
there
I
was
don't
this
know.
there was this little girl in the alto section. Was very friendly, and I was friends with a lot of people in there, and she was a little shy, and the one of the guys in the bass section, who was just this womanizer surfer dude who just took advantage of sweet girls, he started taking her out, and I got really riled, like, this guy's taking advantage of this girl, and so then I started to, after rehearsals, hey, do you need a ride home? Because she was like taking the bus home or something, and she goes, no, that's okay. I said, no, really, where do you live? She said, Arcadia. I said, well, I live in Temple City. And she goes, where's Temple City? She had no idea.
Are they close?
And they're right next to each other.
Oh, okay.
And she was like, she had kind of grown up in Pasadena initially, and then they moved to Arcadia. And so anyhow, I started taking her out, and hey, let's go get a Coke, and
let's go get a Coke.
And then probably
really...
like 3 weeks later, I said, "Will you marry me?" type thing. But
my
she was, because I was just really, I was smit, and she was like, no.
Did you actually say that? You thought it, or around the lines of that?
I definitely thought it. Several months into our friendship, I bought her a ring, and I handed it to her, and she said, "What is this?" And I said, "What do you want it to be?" Because if she would have said, "Is this an engagement ring?" I would have said, "Yeah, absolutely. Let's get married."
What do you want it to be?
You're 17, I'm 18. Let's get married.
Wow.
That's where my head was at. And she was like, "Is this a like friendship type of a ring?" And I was like, okay, yeah,
sure,
sure. And then for the next couple of years, I was just trying to talk her into being my girlfriend.
Oh my gosh! How long did you guys date before you got married or engaged?
We were friends for like 4 years, and we got engaged. Well, I asked her to marry me 3 times. She turned me down twice.
Oh my gosh.
And
I didn't know this.
Yeah. She says I was persistent. There you
go. You were pursuing her.
Everybody else says I wore her down, and that's really not true. She's strong-minded. But and so she finally said yes, and so then we went out with her folks, and I asked her dad for her hand, and he said no. And
so many
and his
obstacles.
Mom, and they said, you guys are young. Sherry's still at Occidental, just finishing up, and I was at Cal State LA. And and that was crushing. And Sherry was just like devastated. She was like, my parents are godly people, and they don't see this relationship working out, and it was very confusing, and she had a horrible year. And they had said, give it a year, and if you still feel the same, and so during that year we had a little breakup and then got back together, and Sherry had mono, and she got the first C or D ever in her life in school, and she was devastated. And it was a rough year, but after that year we were a little more mature.
Yeah, but she had you the whole time. I feel like, I don't know.
Well, during that year, there was their suggestion was, why don't you guys spend some time away, and if you still have that, absence makes the heart grow fonder type thing. I was flat out angry. It's like, how dare these people? But it was good because it caused us to, in terms of our relationship, that year we really spent building ourselves up. The idea of getting married and bringing your best person into that marriage, is a really important thing. There's always going to be challenges. Yeah. Challenges will come. So if you can deal with your personal demons, your things that are quirky and stuff like that before you get married, it's less things to have to work on. And so that year really turned out to, as difficult a year it was, it really turned out to be a blessing. And I got over my anger, and her folks eventually said yes, and then down the road I became very close, especially with her mom and stuff like that, who really kept looking at me. Oh, he's a music guy. He's Sherry's going to be a pastor's wife. He's not. He's in overalls and curly hair, and this isn't who we envisioned. And
And wait, we're missing a big piece of the puzzle. Weren't you going to become like a priest at some point?
Yeah, boy. Oh, you do know that. That's right.
I remember that.
That's right. When we were, I had just kind of broken up with the girl, and actually,
and then you were
I was
never
kind
again.
This relationship with this other girl had kind of cooled, and I had just met Sherry, and at that point, I thought, I can't be in love with two people, so I should become a priest.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how that's the solution.
I was young.
You're
young and dumb.
It was very dramatic.
It was, and so
no one.
Went up to the seminary to check it out. Actually got enrolled. I got my black shirt with the white little thing. In fact, Sherry and my friends for my birthday gave me a chalice and plate for communion that priests use, and we still use it for communion for our family.
Is that the one that we've used before? Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that was from my almost seminary days. And so I was thinking, okay, I can't be in love with two people. I should become a priest and just love everybody. And I loved working with young people at that point and stuff. I had been a youth minister at the Catholic Church, which was a new thing back in the day. They didn't have youth ministers. And so I was the first one for the Catholic Church at the time. And
Wow.
But then, we decided, okay, you know what? I think I'd rather get married and have kids.
Yep.
So
there you go.
have a family. So
let's talk about your family.
Yeah.
You
so
have
after
how many
one
children?
kid, we thought, God, this is so much fun. Let's have 6.
Yep. And you have six kids.
6 kids. Sherry's thing was, when we got married, she saw herself having 4 kids, and I saw us having 2, but we didn't figure out that we didn't know the rules, so we added instead of compromising, we just added.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sure.
Yeah.
And what's the age difference between your oldest, Chelsea, and Tim?
Yeah, so it's like 17 or 18 years.
Wow.
So 81 to 2001.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, 19
no,
years.
wait, 1999.
Oh yeah, 18. Yeah, there it is.
Oh. There you go.
Oh gosh.
Do you even know?
Trying
Tim's
to keep them
laughing
all
in the background.
Hey, I'm doing well if I can remember all their names.
There you go.
It's
there's
like-
just too many. And then there's the
like,
grandkids.
Get over here, Chelsea, Jordan. No, Kaylee. Over there.
Too many. And
Too
then
many.
the grandkids, you have,
Grandkids, 7 kids,
7.
7 grandkids, 7 grandies.
it just keeps growing.
Yeah. So, with our 6 kids, I always thought, there was a movie and a book called Cheaper by the Dozen. And I always used to say, hey, I'm going to get my dozen.
Oh my gosh.
We got 6 kids. They're all going to get
Well, you do
married. There will
have-
be our dozen.
There you go.
We'll have all our grandkids. We'll buy a big ranch and put a bunch of houses on it, make a compound.
I'm still waiting for that. I'm okay with that. I want a little garden.
I was just talking with Chelsea and Kirk about, hey, we need to get back to our compound thinking. So.
Yeah, let's talk about that again.
That'll be another podcast.
Yeah. Compound living.
Compound living.
Okay, well, let's see. We went straight to you having 6 children.
Yeah. So when I was in college, working on my music degree, I just finished my junior year, and my advisor came to me and said, "Hey, next year you're going to be teaching students," and that idea just freaked me out. I was like, I am not ready to go out and teach anybody. I just didn't see it, and so I dropped out, and I got a job at the phone company as a directory assistance operator.
Wait, you dropped out of school?
Dropped out of Cal State LA.
Gosh.
And what city, please? Directory assistance 411 operator, which I don't think there is 411 anymore. I'm not sure. So And I did that for 5 years. And during that 5 years, we got married. And then we had Chelsea. And after we had Chelsea, all of a sudden it was like, oh, I'm ready to go back to school. And I ran into my old high school choir director who at a CVS. And he said, what's going on? Why aren't you done with school yet? You're supposed to come and take my job at the high school. And you didn't. And, and I had gotten, disappointed with all of it and just didn't feel I was ready. And so, but I ran into him, and Chelsea was born about the same time. And all of a sudden I was ready to go back and went back to school. And my dad happened to run into the father of a friend of mine from high school at a football game, Temple City football game. Hey, what's Alan doing? Oh, he's into landscaping. Hey, what's Matt doing? Oh, he went back to school for music. That dad went home, ran into his younger son. Hey, did you know Matt Byers? He's back in music and stuff like that. And Rich was the kid's name. He was like, oh, they just asked me to teach chorus and in Temple City, and I don't want to do it. I'm a volleyball player. And they said, well, tell him Matt Byers probably will do it. And 2 days later, I got a phone call out of the blue from a former assistant principal who said, hey, you want to teach choir? And I said, just like that? No background check or anything? I said, how do you know I'm not a drug dealer or something? He goes, oh, your wife sounded nice on the phone, and you were a nice kid. I can't imagine that. Why don't you come and teach chorus?
Everyone knew you.
Yeah. Like... And so I went and I got that job and did elementary music for a couple of years. And then the high school director was going out on maternity leave. She had given the district suggestions for people to substitute for her. Mm-hmm. But the superintendent, who knew me because I was friends with his son growing up, he said, hey, let's have Matt Byers try it. And they brought me in. I didn't know how to play the piano. How do you be a choir director? You don't know you can't play the piano.
You majored in music, though.
Well,
don't they have you take piano?
And I took the basic, things.
Yeah, you don't really learn that much.
I can still play one hand in exercise, to impress students when I have to. But ended up being a substitute, and then the gal decided not to come back, and I backdoored my way into a 36-year career.
This is at where?
At Temple City.
Temple
City High School, and then also the junior high, and I taught at 5 schools.
Oh my gosh!
So
just
I was
jumping
my own.
Around?
Yeah, go around. I was my own feeder program, so
there you go.
I could see 4th graders and go, oh, when they're at the high school, this kid's going to be good.
Oh yeah, you got to see them. Like you could already picture. Them when they were older. That like, oh, they're going to be a lead in
they're going to be a lead, and so. And so I could train them through junior high, and they'd start getting distracted. Oh no, you want to come and be in? You don't want to play basketball. You want to
stay in choir.
and you can play basketball and be in choir. And I coached freshman football to help build my choir and get lots of guys.
Wow,
did that for several years.
I feel like that doesn't happen these days with
not so much.
Especially people in sports doing choir. I don't know.
I don't know. Kyle Schwarber, I think, for the Phillies. There's a video of him being in his high school show choir. Now he's a big home run hitter in Major League Baseball.
Music helps with a lot of things. It creates discipline. It helps you prepare. It puts you in like
positive
a performance.
Endorphins.
Yeah, it puts you in a performance in like this, maybe to some people, stressful environment, and to be able to perform still through that. It kind of helps in so many aspects of life.
It was always easy for me to recruit because you'd get football players. Oh, I don't want to be singing. I said, it's the same as, when you are playing football, you are playing on the football field. That's your stage. You have your costume. You call it a uniform. You have your plays. We call it choreography. You're out there yelling signals. We have you're using your voice to sing on pitch. It's the same.
It's literally the same thing.
Yeah.
I see no difference.
I talk so many boys into that.
Join
and
choir.
You get to dance with girls.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Then they're in.
Then they're in.
Yeah. That's fun. And then so you were at the high school for how many years?
So I was at the high school 34 years.
34 years.
And
you directed choir, and then Musical
choir,
theater?
and then I produced the direct. I produced all the musicals those years, and I directed about a little more than half of them.
Okay.
And so we were doing everything from Oklahoma and Sound of Music to Beauty and the Beast and Mary Poppins and
Love it.
Little Mermaid, and a lot of. I was really blessed because a lot of the staff that I would work with were former students that then came back as teachers or whatnot, and so
You got to see such a full circle for a lot of
I did,
people.
and there was a lot of we worked together really well, and I could sit there and say, it would be great if we could have sparklers on so and so's feet as he's dancing across the stage, and nobody ever
That's
sat
not a
there.
hazard. That's not a fire hazard.
Yeah, and nobody ever said, "Oh, we can't do that," or they were all like, "Oh, well, I'll get back to you, see how if I can." I mean, I had
It's like a team effort.
it was, and we had great fun.
And you have a Carnegie Hall hat on.
I do.
Did
I
you
do.
did your choir go to Carnegie Hall?
We took
Did you
Carnegie.
tour?
We did an East Coast tour, and participated in a festival that was at Carnegie Hall, and so I got to conduct on that stage, and that was obviously a great experience, and also kind of there were several choirs involved in that, and the coordinators of that festival, one of them was really just a piece of work. He wasn't very kind, and he chewed out a female choir director in front of her choir because she didn't realize certain rules about music that they were supposed to pick up.
Disrespect.
And I just went after the guy, and all of a sudden, and just kind of chewed him out, and how dare you do this, and that kind of thing. And but all of a sudden, all the other directors and the choirs, they all got very excited about that, and not only were they supporting that director and their choir, but then when we did the mass concert, there was this huge sense of camaraderie, and it just made the Carnegie experience really, really special.
That's cool.
And
Yeah,
so-
Carnegie Hall is beautiful. My choir performed there when I was in high school. It's just so cool.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, so many very talented people have performed there. So the fact that you can say that, I mean, it's just like you and
Oh,
your
yeah.
choir, but
Yeah.
you get to say that you
Yeah.
performed in Carnegie
Yeah.
Carnegie
Yeah,
Hall.
Carnegie Hall, and
Yeah.
and it was great fun, and I did several classical numbers and then one pentatonics number, and just kind of,
Yes, I
and
love
of course the
pentatonics.
place that went nuts because it was.
It's pentatonic season right now because it's Christmas.
Yes,
and
it
I
is.
have only been listening to them. So
It is.
love it. Okay, well, we're going to wrap up soon, but I want to know about the stage of life you're in right now. Like, I know we didn't get into a lot of the kids growing up and stuff, but what does it look like now? Because now all your kids are grown up.
Yep. They're all
And
grown up, and
some have kids, some
a
are
lot
married.
of them married, some with kids, and I'm retired, and that's been a huge transition. Reacquainting myself with learning new things like how to be home, how to learn Sherry's language in terms of how a house is run versus how I ran the high school program.
It's so different, right? Because your
Super
whole
different.
life was revolved around work.
It was, and
which was like another home to you. It was like another.
it was. That's a whole nother
family.
podcast about how much time you spend at work versus with your kids. And I know my kids, on the one hand, there were times that they felt like I was denying them to work with high school kids. All of them have been super forgiving of that, especially in the later years, and I'm thankful for that. And part of that is having just an incredibly supportive wife. It's because you're like a head coach, and you've got your team, and it takes a lot of time, and so it's time away no matter how you slice it. So now being retired and getting to come back and invest back in my kids, and especially with grandkids, and juggle that schedule. It's been a gift, and to have time to come and do things like this with my kids. It's great, and so it's you learn in life. There's all those different stages. In your 20s, you're scrambling to kind of, you get through school, and all of a sudden there's the workforce and everything, and I mean, in the 20s, that's your time to just work hard. That's the time you're going to have 2 or 3 jobs, and you're going to make ends meet and learn how to juggle your life. When I got into my 30s, and we had 3 kids about that point. My dad passed away, and it became really important to me to find community and find people that could mentor me, and help me navigate all my, insecurities or questions about how to parent. I mean, you start parenting, but, if you have a parent who all he did was give you a switch or give you a belt, for discipline, what's your alternative, and,
you have to learn differently.
You have to learn differently and learn how to communicate and
well, just like you said, your dad learned from his dad, right?
Yeah, I mean, he learned all of what he did.
You can either continue that, or you can.
Yeah, and we chose, and that the 30s for me was, church was so important, and being around godly men, men's seminars and things like that, just to hear how to be a good dad and see examples, and how to be a good husband, how to communicate, and that was really, really important, and then
to help you also get through all these new things that are happening in your life. Like, you need that community, and those friendships.
And how do you be a dad to girls, and how do you raise sons to be godly men type thing? It's fun when they're little and they're playing their games and stuff like that, but then having the bigger conversations about how to be a gentleman and how to be a godly man and whatnot, and those are, nobody teaches you that unless you are in a community around people that you respect, where you can get some mentoring, and then, your 40s, you start realizing now everybody's growing up, and you need to prioritize your family more, and be more available. Yeah, probably I wish my 40s were more of that, but as I look back on it, and look back on video when I did do a better job in some seasons versus others, it's so important, once you're in your 40s to prioritize your family in spite of everything else you had going on, and I had built an empire in terms of a performing arts program, and it was hard to stop and reprioritize family.
To step away from that. And
I would tell anybody in your 40s, review what you're doing and reassess.
That's good advice.
Yeah. And then when I turned 50, that was kind of a real eye-opening thing. All of a sudden, for whatever reason, 50 meant, now I can mentor. I have credibility because I'm 50. I don't know. There's a lot of juvenile 50-year-olds out there, I suppose. But that became an important thing for me to start mentoring colleagues, younger teachers, former students, meeting people for coffee, trying to meet up with my older kids. And
because by then, how old were your oldest kids?
In their 20s.
Yeah. So they're adults.
Yeah.
But then you still have how old would Tim have been?
Yeah, so Tim would have been...
They were in their 20s, like...
Yeah, he would have been...
11?
Yeah, 11.
So you still have, like... It's, like, weird because you have these older kids that are entering into adulthood, but then you have kids that are still young that you're...
Yeah. And those older kids, they're, because, that whole sibling dynamic where you've got older kids working with the younger kids type thing. We kind of had our 3 oldest, and then there was like 4 years, and then our 3 youngest. And they all complained that Sherry and I treated them all differently, that the older 3 got better things, and the younger 3 didn't get as disciplined as much, and all that
some
kind
say
of thing.
that's a nice thing. I don't know. The last kids are always like, nah, we've been through this. Like, go run around. You have to ask Tim how that.
Yeah, I feel like our youngest Tim kind of looked at what everybody else was doing, what they got in trouble with, and he avoided it.
Yeah. He's smart.
Yeah, he was very smart. He's a very smart young man.
Yeah, he's not sitting right over there. So, okay, well, let me see if I have any other questions. Oh,
I'll tell you, if I was going to summarize, a lot of my life at this point, being just having turned 65, I continually run into how does anybody do anything about life without, a relationship with God, without a place of being cared for and knowing that you're cared for and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a little kid, had a situation happen at Catholic Church where it was like Christmas Eve service, and the church, of course, is packed because it's Christmas. Mm-hmm. Everybody once a year, Christmas, Christians, Catholics would go, and I was sitting in a folding chair along the side wall, and I noticed in the back there was a little old lady just standing back there with her cane, and I was separated from my family because we had all gotten to church late and sitting in this folding chair. I went over to the little old lady and just took her by the hand and brought her over to my chair and had her sit down. And going back, all these people were patting me on the head like, wow, what a great gesture, kid. But that moment, for whatever reason, with all the majesty and the beauty of Christmas and the service going on, I just really knew that God liked me. I mean, we all know that, God loves everybody type thing, but that sense of God liking me, that became a real anchor from a very young kid to today. And I think, if you can live your life and understand how much God loves you, but how much he likes you and delights in seeing us laugh, delights in seeing things that we do to help other people. And you can make that a component in your life. There's a groundedness and a steadfastness that comes with that. And, I look back at, obviously lots of mistakes, I've done a lot of doofus things, but I think getting to this side, seeing the number of times that God has just kind of come through for me in the hard times and felt celebrated by him in the good times. I think that's been such a key for my life, and seeing how happy my kids are as God has brought amazing people into their lives that they could marry, and it's so humbling to know that God has my back. I'm never going to do everything right or perfectly, but he perfectly likes me. He perfectly loves me, and he cares about my kids and their happiness. And that's how he loves on me. So
yeah. Wow. Well, that was a perfect way to end. Yeah, I think that even just hearing your story, you can hear that groundedness and that constant faith in your story, and knowing that faith has gotten you to where you are now, and you're constantly being blessed by it with just your family. And yeah, we all love you.
Thank you. I'm very, very blessed man. Very blessed man.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for telling us a little bit about your life. I feel like we could have kept going.
Yeah.
But
I hope I didn't wax
who
on
knows?
too much.
No. I feel like we could, I don't know. We could keep going, but it'll be like 3 hours if we keep going.
Yeah, at least.
So, and then you sent me photos of you as a kid and as a teenager, your school photos.
Yeah.
So I'm going to post those on the Instagram.
Okay.
Which is the Good Old Days podcast, I think. Yeah. Not Good Old Days pod. Who knows? It's the Good Old Day pod. And we're going to post those so people can see you when you were in your 20s, and when you first had, I think, your 3 kids. You sent me that one.
I think I sent one with the 3 littlest, and then the whole.
And then I think you as a baby too. So, or a toddler. So we're going to post those so people can see them and picture it as you're telling the stories.
There's a lot of stories just in that 1 year.
Oh, okay. Well, do you want to end with a funny one? Or a cool one?
Well, just when I was 2, I had the measles, and then I had appendicitis, and and they rushed me to the hospital. The appendix burst while I was on the table.
Oh my gosh.
And then
is this supposed to be funny?
Well,
or sad?
It's funny. I look back on it because then from there, they put me in. I got home. They put me in the playpen, and I kept climbing out. So they had to put a net over it, to try to restrict me, and
so you don't hurt yourself more.
Yeah, and so then and then a little later, I was in my high chair jumping up and down, and it was the kind that fold up, and I folded it up and crashed that.
Oh my god!
And went to the hospital for that, and the doctor kept saying to my folks, if he lives to see 3, he's gonna have a long life. And I climbed in the car. It was the days when you had push button cars, and I rolled that through a garage door into the neighbor's fence.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
That was terrible twos. That is the epitome of terrible.
Yeah, well, I always call it the terrific twos, but I'm sure my parents called it the terrific twos.
So. You're like, I had a great time. I was living on the edge.
You go to the hospital and everybody's like, oh, he's so cute. You get all this affirmation.
Yeah, all the attention. Okay, cool. Well, we'll end there. Thanks so much, Matt.
Thank you so much.
Yay.
Thank you.